What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Tacobout. We have a 24-500 E-XCF. This bike has already been looked at. We've already done a review on it. And I'll throw a link to that down below. This bike participated in our build and ride program. So basically how that works is RTW Paul here at Tacobout will work with a rider to set up a purchase of a bike and getting it here, and then we'll do a complete soup to nuts build on it based on the specifics for the goals and objectives of the rider. And this particular bike, the rider wanted something that was sleek and fast and simple and nimble and very competent. He flew in to Las Vegas, picked it up, did the Nevada BDR as a shakedown, and then dropped it back off. We did a refresh on it. We serviced it, cleaned it, oil, filter, all the necessaries. Later today is gonna get on a transport and go to Oregon, where the rider is gonna fly and meet it. From there, he's gonna ride the Tat, the Trans-America Trail, from Oregon back home to the East Coast. And instead of having the bike transported from Vegas to the East Coast, he's gonna ride it. It's a very clever goal of his. He's got about a month, I think, to set aside to do it. If you've researched the Tat, you know that to do the complete end-to-end, oh man, it's is it 6,000 miles? I forget the total distance, but if you do it to the routing, it's huge and easily could take a month. So that's his goal. That's what he's doing. And so he's going to be riding this bike on the Tat, specifically set up for that. And we have lots of transport companies that we work with. One in particular that's kind of our favorite, Allen's Cycle Transport. We'll also put that link in the bottom. And so it's really irrelevant where you live in the US. We can get a bike, we can source it, we can finish it, ship it. We've just got great flexibility with making anything happen for your specific needs. So let's look at what improved and changed. Now I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that we did as changes and mods to the bike after his Nevada BDR. There were a few things that we were waiting on parts for, and it may not have been on there before, or there's a few things that he decided he wanted to add to the bike. Remember, I mentioned that the goal was to be very minimal on this, but there's some niceties and a few things that he decided that he wanted to do. So let's look at the tire. We'll start back here in the rear. When he left, gosh, I don't remember what tire he had on it, but here's what he's got now. And this tire should last the distance. As hard as it may be to believe, this may go the complete ride. And if not, getting tire longevity really depends on what happens with your right wrist. If you manage your throttle inputs thoughtfully, you can get 3,000, maybe 4,000, maybe, I don't know, 6,000. Now look, that might be a little bit of a stretch. I might be over guesstimating what this tire could be capable of, but this could easily be a 2,500 to 3,000 mile tire with really good, careful throttle management. So we'll see what he gets. I'm curious to find out. But this is the MOTO's. This is a 120 size, 120 90/18, and this tire is the Tractionator RAL Z. So this is kind of like a 60/30 tire. It's got nice lug spacing, so it'll have very good traction in wet, dry. It's going to be a little bit noisy on the highway. Good side lug spacing, and so it'll corner well. A couple of things regarding the tube. So he upgraded to the Luciolli. The Luciolli, if you're familiar with those, uses a standard, it's a rubber bladder, rubber tube, and then it has two rim locks. So rim lock number 1, and then 180 degrees opposite is rim lock number 2. So it's incredibly secure to the rim assembly, and you can air this down, you can ride it flat. Because it's a tube, it could puncture, so he'll need to have a repair kit and tire tools. But because it's 7 millimeters, it's gonna resist punctures incredibly well. And then we've got some anti-puncture liquid inside of there, and so that will even help all the more. And then that tube has been slimed with mousse lube. And that will work to prevent pinch flats if that was an issue, if he got in a situation where he was running low pressure and hit a rock. So that's a complex wheel assembly here. The tube is quite expensive. I'll put the cost of that down there. I think it's like 175 bucks, but it is not your average tube. Very heavy, very reliable, very durable. So there's some strong advantages, some strong disadvantages. The rider thought in this for this application, this was the way to go, and I agreed with him. And the setup, like we described, is really about as good as you're gonna get. If you're gonna run air, this is about as reliable as you're gonna get. Let's look at these swing arm guards. So we put these on because he's gonna be in a situation where he doesn't wanna puncture a hole in the side of the swing arm. The new generation bikes have such a thin sidewall material on the swing arm for weight savings that we've already documented instances where riders have fallen on rocks and punctured holes. So that's gonna prevent that. Let's see what else. The side covers here, the other side as well, those were white. They come white on the original graphics, the original plastics, and they show a lot of dirt and a lot of wear. And so we went with an orange. He wanted to do orange just to not have them look so ratty. Another thing that we threw on was, let's talk about the bags for a minute. So he's got the Moscow 40s. These are the rackless 40s. And he's got the Moscow cleats on here. Now, we improvised a spacer. So a lot of questions from the last video about how this system works. So let's dive into this. This is the Moscow side cleat, the little latch here, clasp deal. And then we have our bolt, and that's just a button head. I think that's an 8mm diameter bolt, and then it's probably 25mm long. I'll see if I can put the specs down there. And then we have an aluminum spacer. We have a spacer shim kit, just a bunch of generic spacers and washers and adapters. And so we just sort of improvised a DIY spacer there, the bolt, this, and then this was hammered. We just laid that flat on the ground, hit it with a hammer a little bit to take the bow, because there's a significant bend out in its natural state, and we want it as flat as possible. So we whack that with a hammer. We use the Moscow Volley straps here to secure it, as opposed to the fabric straps which this comes with, because this area is going to see some boot rubbing, and these will be way more durable than the strap. And then every rider should have a couple of these in your pack. You should be running a few of these, and you can lace them through the webbing here to have as spares. So in a worst case scenario where this were to tear or something happen to it, you just swap it out. Super easy. This heat shield has a really big band clamp that goes around. And then one thing to be aware of is we like to cut these off with a Dremel or a angle grinder, and then take the very sharp jagged edge and fold it under. So that is absolutely essential. You've got to have that. Then back here, we have this thing called the knoblin. So what this is doing is there's a drill through here, big fender washer, and then this Moscow MOTO knoblin deal is two-piece. There is a receiver, and then this thing which acts as the lock, the latch. And that's a very clever way to secure your bike to the back. There are no racks available for the new generation bike. I will let you in a little secret that Tacomoto is working on one. We have a fabricator who is patterning one out for us and creating one, and then we're gonna start mass producing racks. But for now, in the meantime, you've got a situation where on these new bikes, because there's no rack available, you're gonna need to put your bags on the bike directly. The bike will handle it. The rear fender assembly is beefed up on this new generation chassis. It's stronger than it's been in any of the previous generations. And our testing, and this is anecdotal, you're reasonably gonna be able to get about 25 pounds safely, reliably laying on that rear fender. And we biased it forward, so some of that weight is being carried as far forward as possible and a little bit on the seat. So to get this off, you have to remove the seat. If that's the only downside, so be it. And you have to drill a hole in your fender, okay? So those are maybe the two only downsides to it. But to carry 25 pounds without a rack right on the bike, we're confident you're gonna be able to do that. Another downside, potentially, is all of this contact between the bag and the bike is gonna rub ridiculous into that plastic. So if you have fancy graphics, or you wanna maintain your stock plastics and not scratch and rub them up, you can put some painter's tape or some shelf paper or clear plastic packing tape. You can do whatever you think you need to do to tape onto your plastics so that that takes the rub and not your plastics. There's lots of little homemade, solutions to that, but you can figure that out. So that's how that rear setup works, and it's absolutely rock solid, reliable. I've already done a couple of day ride on my 24 chassis. I have a Husky version of this same bike, no issues at all, and I was running 27 pounds, I think, on my bike, and we did not do anything extreme. We didn't do any crazy hard enduro on our ride, but we also didn't have any issues whatsoever, and so I have full faith and confidence in this setup that there'll be no issue with that. He wanted to have a stator cover. Again, just thinking for preparation, what if he falls over, hits a rock in Utah somewhere, you know. So he's riding solo, and so there's some things on this obviously that a solo rider would need to be aware of and be careful of. So that was on there. Also, we put a recluse cover on here. Now, he did not opt to go with a recluse, so it's just the cover only. That's a standard stock clutch underneath there, but that gave him peace of mind with the added strength and durability. He wanted to anodize the bar guards just to give it a little cleaner, tighter look, and I agreed with that. These they're the highway dirt bikes guards, and they're raw aluminum, so we anodized those black for him. That was just a little aesthetic choice. I think he made a good move there. Front wheel has a Luciolli as well, and the wheel took some weight, so you'll see how much weight, even though with the Luciolli, oh, I understand. Okay, so I forgot about this. The front Luciolli, the two rim locks are not 180 degrees opposite. They're offset 90 degrees. And so to make all that happen, you needed some wheel weights, which we have there. Let's see. We upgraded this is the Voyager Pro. We upgraded from the standard dock that came stock to the rugged one. This is aluminum. It has a locking nut. It's much more reliable and much stronger, and so that was an upgrade, just again for some crash protection and to have a better platform for mounting that. The front tire, we didn't change the front tire. We threw the Luciolli in there, but he's got plenty of life left on that tire. That's the MOTO's Tractionator. That's the Enduro ST tire. That's a really great tire. Great setup on the tires here, no problems. One last thing as I look at the seat. This is a seat concepts. If you remember, the original bike had the OEM seat, and that was incredibly uncomfortable, and he wanted to get rid of that immediately. This seat has a little Nerf cutout in it, just a little scrotum relief Nerf in there. Get a hold of Seat Concepts and they can do that. That's a nice thing to do if you're going to be sitting on a lot of long rides. You can also have your stock seat or any seat. An upholstery shop can do that for you. They can pull off the covering and then they can just etch away the foam in there as a little testy saver, whatever you want to call it. So that's the Seat Concepts, standard height, and then comfort width. It's not the XL. I like the XL, liked it a lot, and I use it a lot. This is just the standard, but it's so standard comfort, standard height. So that's a wrap. If you have any questions about this bike or anything else we do, or you want us to set you up a bike like this, we can either do it and build it here, or we can consult you on how to build a bike and what it takes to build something like this from through Paul over the phone or over email, and then we can basically build you a bike in a box. We can ship you this build. We could do exactly that. We could ship you this build in a box. If you wanted to DIY the process and build it at home, we can coach you and consult you through that whole journey. If that's something you want to try, reach out to us. Our contact information is down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, go out, get some adventure.